The three focus areas for this bold vision, for this bold vision are building congregational vitality, dismantling structural racism, and eradicating systematic poverty. Let's listen to the word of the Lord. The scripture today is from Matthew 25:37-40. Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you drink? And when did we see you as a stranger and welcome you, or naked and clothe you? And when did we see you sick or in prison and visit you? And the king will answer them, truly, I say to you, if you did it to one of the least of these, you did it to me. Now I want to turn over the program to Pam Johnson, the chair of our outreach committee. Pam.
Thank you and welcome everyone today. This is an opportunity for Witherspoon to acknowledge and recognize the work of an organization that is right here doing the work that's embodied in Matthew 25 right in our community. And that's Princeton Mutual Aid. And I would say in terms of 2 out of 3 of the Matthew 25 goals, eradicating poverty, eradicating structural racism, and addressing the needs of poverty, those are 2 things that Princeton Mutual Aid does every single day in our community. So without further delay, I would like to introduce one of the key leaders of the group, although they're a democratically operated organization and can tell us more about that. But Harishi, we would like you to just kind of give us a little bit of background about yourself and how you got involved and what is Princeton Mutual Aid. And then we can have a discussion later about ways in which people can either get involved or support the work, this great work that you're doing. Thanks, Rishi.
Thank you, Pam, and I want to just sincerely thank the Witherspoon Church Board and Pam Johnson and Reverend Lucata for the invitation. I really, really appreciate it. Just a little bit about me. So I'm now a 5th year graduate student in the chemistry department at the university at Princeton, and that's all I am basically. But I have been involved in other types of activism and in this area for the last 4 years. Before that, I was in Boston. During the coronavirus pandemic, I think, as I'm sure a sentiment shared by many in the church community, we saw that many people were just not able to feed themselves through no fault of their own, and being especially victimized by the system. And where before, there were inequities and people would be victimized by those inequities, now it was just kind of to another level or to another degree. And myself and a number of people mobilized to create PMA in March when the coronavirus pandemic really started getting going. And it initially just started with a Google form, and people filling out the Google form, seeing if they needed something, if they were able to offer some help. And very thankfully, we've been, over the last 7 months, we've grown to almost probably reach around 400 people, either directly part of the network or through an ask or a need that they reached out to us for to help with. We've been able to redistribute. I don't know exactly I don't have the exact number, but around maybe around $60,000 to $65,000 in the 7 months through various fundraising means. And we're working to alleviate the poverty in this area to the small degree that we can, but also working to create community that extends beyond just the terms of the pandemic, such that we're better prepared the next time. The calamity is still going on from the pandemic, but but we want to build community for the long haul. And the central motto, if you might say, of the network is solidarity, not charity. So that's I have a brief presentation just kind of thrown together, if that's all right. About is now the time?
Sure. Audie, can you allow him to share his screen? Okay, there you go.
Okay, I'm just gonna go ahead and share my screen. Sorry, there's one. Okay, here we go. All right, everyone should be able to see that. Let's do. Okay, so I have a quick presentation about Princeton Mutual Aid. It'll be short. I don't want to take up too much, more than what the time that I'm allotted. And feel free to jump in with questions or anything. It's just a few slide introductions. As I just said, it formed in the at the height of the coronavirus pandemic. But the vision of PMA is to persist beyond just the pandemic. I mean, the whole point is that we want this network to last beyond even the duration of any particular one of the members. So any one of us might leave the area, but we want the network to sustain. So very broadly speaking, we can group Princeton Mutual Aid's responsibilities into three categories. And the first is individual asks. So part of our motto is, as one of our members, Stacy Mann, puts it very well, we trust people to be able to ascertain their own needs. And so we don't try to have forms to fill out, beyond just the initial one, like to tell us how to get in contact with you, but we don't try to qualify the need that you come to us with, and make sure that it's exactly what it is, and all of these things. We just take it as it is, and that's part of our individual asks kind of sector. Those would be our direct asks. They can be for cash, for an upcoming bill or something, or just groceries, or even like a bike or something. And they can also be in the form of language services. So we help people that don't speak English fill out forms, such as the form for aid, that municipal aid that was existing for a long time during the summer. And this is where the bulk of our kind of money goes toward, is to fill helping these people directly. The second, broadly speaking, is the organizational partnerships that we have. So we're very blessed and thankful to be able to organize and work with these organizations. These are just some of them, and of course we want more. But Unidad Latina in Acción, New Jersey, and Witherspoon Presbyterian Church are by far our two strongest and most long-standing partnerships, and we're very happy for that. We also have had partnerships with Share My Meals, Princeton Mobile Pantry, the Immigrant Solidarity Network, Solidarity.Princeton. But we want more. We're trying any organization in this network, including the church that does this type of work. And they may not call it mutual aid, historically or whatever, but that doesn't mean that isn't what it is. And so we want to connect with those. We're just about kind of making connections to get these things done. Recently, we've tried to also partner with local businesses, this PMA affiliated network of local businesses, and try to see if we can get businesses or form a de facto kind of hiring hall without an actual building space right now. But we're trying to see if we can reach out to the local businesses and help with joblessness to the small degree that we can, and kind of to be determined on the success rate of that. And very recently also we've made the first few steps into, and it's a large task, but but we've expanded into doing things like investigation into the status of tenant organization in Princeton, and this is something that I know Reverend Lucata is also very interested in. And if we can build some, broader institutions that are not necessarily PMA connected, but that serve a particular population, in this case, renters and tenants in Princeton, in a place that is very expensive to live, then that'll be something very, very powerful and lasting, we think. And then not listed here, which I would wish it was, the last kind of like organizational partnership. It falls within that, I suppose, but we also have a branch that is keeping tabs on local civics happenings. So we have a group that is connected with local government and attends regularly council meetings and planning meetings and human services meetings and things of that nature. Keeps tabs on them, takes notes, and until recently produced a guide that can be easy to consume for people that couldn't make it to those meetings. We want people to know what's happening in their local government. The last thing here, and this is sort of like an overall type of thing. So we recognize that community is not just made up of giving like cash transactions and groceries for people. We don't just buy groceries for people, then just say have a nice day and peace out, right? What we do is we encourage the people that fulfill the asks that are joining the network to reach out to the people that they helped the next week or the week after, and try to try to be updated on what's going on with them. And through this way, we've been able to make some actual lasting friendships that ordinarily would not have existed. A lot of our volunteer or member base comes from the university community, and they're able to, as many of you know, the university is quite a tightly controlled bubble with not as many interactions with the town of Princeton and the outer community as we would like, and a lot of our members from the university community are able to have personal relationships and friendships with folks in the broader community that they would never have had before, myself included. So we view this as a very core part of what we do, building these emotional connections, because this is how you build community, actually. So I'm just gonna, that's kind of the overview, and the rest of the slides are just kind of evidence, or I'll talk a little bit more about each thing, just a few pictures. So, this is just a few examples of like what we post on our social media. Regarding individual asks, they take a bunch of forms. They can take utilities bills, rent, which I know the Witherspoon Presbyterian Church and Unidad Latina are also involved in fundraising for. But what we do is we fundraise on behalf of people that reach out to us. We use our network and we say, hey, here's a couple examples. A neighbor's car was repossessed and needs help getting it back, $1,500. We try to use our network to raise this $1,500. If we are unable to raise it within a particular time, then what we do is we top it up with our general funds, and we try to the best of our ability, meet that need, even so. And people, our net organizing is done primarily through WhatsApp. We find WhatsApp to be a very, very useful tool for organization, given that it connects people from across backgrounds. So people in the Spanish-speaking community are a lot of them are on WhatsApp, and if we're on WhatsApp as well, there's a lot less communication gap. And so all of our organizing is done mostly on WhatsApp. And the way it works is very simple. We have a list of asks that goes out every day. A couple people on the call are on the WhatsApp, so they know what I'm talking about. You may have had to mute the chat once or twice because there's a lot of notifications. But you just contact the person that it says to contact. So, for example, for number 3 here, if a person with a truck saw this message, they would just contact Alex J, and then that need would be fulfilled. It's not on here, the screenshots, because technically we try to keep the spreadsheet public. By the way, feel free to tell me if I'm going, time keep for me. Okay. We have a spreadsheet that is kind of the base of all of our operations. Again, we're a democratic organization. We're kind of a grassroots organization. We don't have a lot of we have no institutional sources of money behind us, and so we have just this Google spreadsheet that's the hub of all of our organizing, and it's technically member only because we try to keep confidentiality, but that anybody can edit that spreadsheet, and that's the point of our organization. Anybody can just go in, say, I can help with this, and then contact the person that it says to contact. And then, that's how it works. The next thing, organizational partnerships. So we view this as, super important. So we have two very large distributions that we do with the help of other organizations. So one of them is the regular Seekers delivery list. So currently we now have 21 people that are regularly getting groceries and other necessities on a bi-weekly basis. We have members that come together and buy these things for these seniors, and we deliver them every other Sunday. And then the second one is the one that we've been doing since March, the one that kind of kickstarted Princeton Mutual Aid as an organization. And this is the one in partnership with ULA, I'll say Unidad Latina as ULA for short, and Witherspoon Presbyterian Church. Since March, we've every 2 weeks we've been able to distribute food and supply packs to. It's open to anybody, but initially it was for the day laborer community, but it's expanded beyond that. It's open to anybody that needs it, and currently we're up to 64 every 2 weeks. We distribute 64 of these defined food packs every 2 weeks, and this has been a really big thing. I mean, I don't know if folks how much folks know about this distribution, but it has people in outside of Princeton have heard of it and have told folks from outside of Princeton to come here and pick stuff up, and it's been a really good way also of community building to have this consistent support and show up consistently in this way for the community. So we're very, very thankful for that, and thankful to our partners. We are also involved in other partnerships, including with the YMCA. They also do a regular food distribution, although this is more produce. And in the last few times that they've done this, we've been able to help with delivery and distribution. You can see there in the middle picture. I'm wearing the Michigan shirt. But this has been another thing that we're very thankful to have. And in general, we've been working or trying to attend more and more events by the Princeton Human Services. So recently, they've expanded into giving tenants or promoting events about tenants' rights and things like that, and immigrants' rights, especially in the wake of the news that there may be some raids or something around election time. So we've been trying to partner with them and on our own do things like tenants' rights and immigrants' rights canvassing and campaigns. So we view our mutual aid as not apolitical. We're not afraid to take these particular stands, especially when they are for the benefit of vulnerable members of our community and our neighbors. So our mutual aid is not apolitical. And then the last thing, just some emotional connections. So a few examples. So we, in line with what I said before, we understand that community building is about making these emotional connections as well. And we've been able to build these actual relationships so that when neighbors come to us with problems that are that are hard to talk about with just strangers, we're able to provide real community support. And so the left picture here is so we received word that a neighbor had a child that was going in for a potentially dangerous surgery, and we were able to come together and get some books for the kid, and make a little bit of a customized card for them, just as a get well soon and good luck for the surgery type of thing. We were also able to provide a week's worth of meals, 2 of which are shown here in the middle and the right, for a family that was also going through something, a medical emergency. We just came together and cooked a week's worth of meals and in Tupperware that was donated. So things like this. I mean, I could go on and on and on. I mean, there's honestly not enough to fit on just a one slide. We've been very active, but it's been mostly documented on our social media, and I invite you to go there and kind of scroll through and check it out, especially our Instagram. It's very exhaustive, but this is a crucial component of what we do, and I would be remiss if I did not mention it. And then that was basically, I made it brief. That was basically all I had. I mean, the rest is just, so we have a website. We also accept checks, and we have this PayPal and Venmo information. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram and on Facebook as well. If you want to join the network, you can please do so at the website. There's a form that you fill out, and you'll have access to the sheet and the WhatsApp and everything. And then if you need something, if you should need something, or know someone that needs something, there's also a form there that can be filled out, or you can just get in touch with us via our email, which is also given here in the PayPal. That was all I had. I mean, I didn't want to go on and on, but yeah.
I have a question for you, Harishi.
Sure.
So clearly, as the word gets out, you're probably seeing an increase in the number of requests. And are you guys concerned about the sustainability or being able to meet those demands? Do you see an uptick now as time goes on?
Yeah, I mean, well, there was an uptick. There were several upticks. One, when the word about Princeton Mutual Aid got out to the community, and more, especially around like May, June, we saw significant upticks in the number of asks that we were receiving. And then, but then, our capacity kind of grew to match that. And then 2, we saw an uptick when the town's fund, the SURF fund, people remember the town had a fund, coronavirus emergency relief fund, and this fund ran out in August. And after that happened, we saw again an uptick in the number of asks, and we had to institute one major thing in response to this. One, and I'm sorry I don't have that this concrete information on the slides here, but one, we had to institute a soft cap on particular types of asks. So for rent, for example, we had to institute a cap of $400. We were not able to give more than $400 for a particular rent ask, and then utilities. This soft cap can be exceeded if the situation is, very extreme. So that was one, and then 2, we really had to up our fundraising game. So in recent months, we had a fundraiser with Ramen Stop, with the restaurant Ramen Stop. They volunteered to give 50% of their proceeds on a particular day to us. We had a very successful giving and taking storytelling fundraiser a couple weeks ago with featuring and Deb Amos from NPR moderating the event, and a bunch of other storytellers, luminaries populating the event. We were able to do that. And then coming up now, we have a fundraiser with Labyrinth books. On October 30th, they're going to give 15% of what they make in store and online to us. So we've had to expand our fundraising and get more creative and stuff. We also had an art raffle, etc. But the sustainability is something that it's always on our minds. But as long as we have like a wide base and we are coming up with results and meeting people's needs, I think that people will have faith that their money is going to somewhere. Directly going to help people. We have it's a complete volunteer outfit. So, yeah, I have reasonable faith that we will be able to keep up some decent clip for fundraising.
Great. I see another question here. What have you seen as the greatest need?
The greatest need is by far rent. If more broadly speaking, it's people just are struggling. People have just need more money, and rent is the greatest need. So our response to that has been, and I know that Reverend Lucata has more thoughts on this, but we put together a consolidated fundraiser just for rent, just like Unidad, ULA, and Witherspoon have been doing for the last several months. We did that finally, and but we have the understanding that our money is just kind of going directly to folks that landlords who are not in the same dire situation that many of their tenants are, and so what we're doing. Sorry, I have to mute the app. That's what the case is these days. Nonstop notifications. We recognize that this money is just going to landlords who don't need the money as much as their tenants do, and so we're trying to kind of not dabble with, but like institute or begin the process of tenant organizing, because we recognize that the rent need, it just keeps on coming. It's just every month rent is due, and so that's been the biggest need.
Yeah.
There's also utilities payments. Those are big needs. People are late on utilities payments, and then groceries. Those are the three big ones.
And I see that Sean Maxim posted a link that appeared in the Daily Princetonian. Princeton Mutual Aid online storytelling fundraiser raises over $3,500. So congratulations on that effort.
Thank you. Yeah, it was a really good effort. We've had to get creative, but that was just a simple. We invited a bunch of people to come tell their stories. The theme was giving and taking. Time, and so we had a lot of stories, especially about the migrant experience or the immigrant experience. That was a successful event, but happy to raise $4,000 roughly.
So we're going to open it up. Are there other questions?
I had a question. So I think many of the church members actually don't live in Princeton, and so I guess I don't know how to phrase it, but I'm just wondering, how is there a different way they should be connected, or it shouldn't matter where they are, or I don't know how you all feel about how Princeton centric you are or are not.
Well, what we've been doing right now is the Princeton Mutual Aid is applicable for people that either live or work in Princeton. So if you work, or I think that broadly speaking can be expanded to if you are affiliated strongly with a Princeton centric institution or a Princeton centered institution. So that would include Witherspoon Presbyterian Church. So I personally, I work at the university, but I live in Plainsboro, and I know that that's true of a bunch of university affiliated people. So if you are a church member, you're involved in the church and you're involved in a Princeton institution, I think that very much qualifies you. We have no compunction about those folks becoming also members of PMA.
Thank you. And do you mind if we're finished done with the screen sharing, should we stop that? And I said stop, but actually I don't know if there were other questions. I was trying to both pay attention and look at your website. I think another issue for members of our church is, though many of us are quite tech savvy, I won't include myself in that, we're mostly of a different generation, so just saying we're on Instagram or Facebook kind of means something different. And just as I was looking at the website, I saw some things that surprised me, and if there weren't any other questions, it might be worthwhile showing at least what you have on the website. I know it was a list of Black-owned businesses, so I didn't know that was a thing you all did for. So to the extent we're at least talking to members of our church, that might be something to spread the news. So it was just a suggestion. So Pam, I don't know what, or Hrishi, what you thought.
There is one other question. So I don't know, Hrishi, do you want to address that first, and then we'll get to.
Yes, I was actually, and thank you, Reverend Licata, for bringing this up. This is something I should have mentioned. Reverend Licata and and also Alpha E Omega and people from ULA were instrumental in working with PMA to help house for a period of time and get help for a previously unhoused person in Princeton. I mean, this person came to Reverend Licata for help, and we were able, through it was not easy, but we were able to scrounge together funds to house this person for a period of time, and then give this person the substance abuse treatment and help that they needed. And as of recently, I mean, I can't be completely sure, but this person is now working semi-regularly and able to stay clean to some degree. And this has been definitely a major triumph. And this is another example, I think, of community coming together to help someone that has no other options. But it really laid bare the hugely systemic inequality in a town like Princeton, where there are very, very few resources for someone like him with questionable visa status and other things he had to rely on. Very thankful that we could come together, but it really laid bare those problems. And I don't know if Reverend Licata, you want to talk more about that.
Well, I mean, I'll just say in general that we are getting a snapshot of PMA. I mean, PMA does a lot and is doing a lot. The work with the gentleman who we found on the steps of our church, who was homeless, is just a small example, because as we worked together, we found that even in Princeton, or perhaps especially in Princeton, there were extreme shortages in terms of resources that were available to give him the critical help that he needed. He needed more than just for us to give him some food. He needed a place to stay. He needed mental health support. He needed substance abuse support. We found that we couldn't find any Spanish speaking, and I saw him actually just last Sunday. He was out in front of the church. There's no Spanish speaking Alcoholic Anonymous programs in Princeton. We can't find any. And if I can find them somewhere in the surrounding areas, then we'll get him there. But he knows that in order for him to maintain the progress that he made, he needs to be in a program. PMA shows up for everything. Marches, demonstrations. They were some of the marshals when we did our walk from Witherspoon Street and from the Robeson House to the seminary campus and back. We've worked together on such a wide range of different activities. Also with Unidad Latina and Acción, he's mentioned the ways in which we have tried to help those who are dealing with rent issues, and ULA has distributed over $40,000 directly to people to help them pay rent, and Witherspoon we've just been the place. We've been the place where they could do it from, in terms of our building or in terms of our relationships, connecting local businesses with it. I mean, we have not contributed an extraordinary amount of resources, though the deacons have provided some, and even individual members have provided financial resources. But we've been blessed just to be partners from the beginning. And interestingly, the first thing that we did with PMA, I know Harishi will remember this, is early on in the pandemic when we wanted to distribute communion. And Audie, this goes to some of your question about Princeton versus the broader community that is Witherspoon beyond Princeton. We wanted to distribute communion. I think it may have been in April, may have been Easter month. And we wanted to, but we were in the midst of this pandemic. People were really worried and afraid and concerned about how we could do it and how we could do it safely. Well, we were able to partner with PMA, and PMA did all the distribution for communion in Princeton. And then we had elders and deacons and other volunteers who did Lawrenceville and Ewing and Trenton and West Windsor and some of the other places. So it was a way that they helped us to concentrate. They did Princeton Junction too, I think. Princeton and Princeton Junction. And then they did that part, and then we did other parts. And I think that's important for us to think about the relationship with PMA, that even if they are concentrated in a certain area and there is a need which exceeds the resources that are available, even in that concentrated area, then we have the capacity and partnership to, if they can help us cover that area, it allows us to concentrate some of our efforts in some of our other outlying areas where we have members who live and we have communities that are needed. And so that first time we worked together was an example of that. We gave them the list, and we put up the envelopes together for every single church member that we had in Princeton. And then we went to outreach, we went to deacons, we went to other members and said, can you all help volunteer to help us get them to Lawrenceville and get them to Ewing and get them to Trenton and get them to our other members? And so that was a good example of partnership. So I'm thankful for all that PMA is doing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to just go through the website a little bit. Just if I know Audie mentioned before, there's too many things that PMA has done, and they're too wide in capacity to go through all of them in a time that is shorter than an hour. But thank you very much, Reverend Lucata, for highlighting that. Yeah, I mean, anywhere there's a community need of any kind, that's where PMA feels that it should show up, and I think we'll try to continue that for as long as we're privileged to survive.
They also helped us to help members move, that needed, bodies of people who could help to move people from their apartment to another place. And so it was PMA members along with Chase Johnson, Pam's son, and I am Jumbe, my daughter, and others, who came together and helped to get one of our members, moved out of her house into storage, and also raised resources to pay for a storage facility for a couple of months. So, I mean, these are all the different kinds of diverse ways in which PMA really shows up.
Okay, well, would you like me to bring up the website, or?
I was just waiting for...
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, I can just go ahead and do that right now. Everybody can see that. Right. So we have here the website, and I'm just gonna. Yeah. So the website is here. As we can see, we have two forms that are kind of the bulk of our organizing. So we've got for help and questions. Go over here and highlight the menu a few of the things that I wasn't able to kind of get the chance to mention. So we have this list that was produced over the summer of Black-owned businesses in the area, and it might load. Or yeah, here it is. So it just the name of the business, how to get there, a quick description, and if they have takeout during coronavirus. So it's pretty extensive. We've included businesses outside of Princeton as well, and we did, and we also have as I mentioned before, if we go to local politics here, we were able to produce a bunch of This Week in Local Government guides for summaries of local government meetings. So if we go here, if I just click on this one, be able to see really quickly what they look like. Load. Okay, well, it might take a while to load. All right, it doesn't load, then. Oh, okay, here we go. I don't know if everybody can see that. We have this week in local government, and we have, kind of concise consolidation of things. Various commission meetings. And then finally, just quickly, I'm very conscious of not taking too much time. We go over here, and we have everything also in Spanish, and because many of our members are bilingual and maybe just monolingual for Spanish. So we have everything in Spanish as well. So we also have some information about our partner organizations. We see Williamson Street Presbyterian Church here, and yeah, I mean, the one thing that's not really on here is the document, like the pictures and the documentation of what we've been doing. But if you can just go to our social media. I forgot to mention the direct asks. So you can actually go here and you see in the spreadsheet that should load soon. So a lot of these have not been fundraised for yet, but you see the list of our, my apologies, the list of our outstanding direct asks, and the degree to which they've been fundraised. So if we scroll down, a bunch of them are kind of intermediate, and then a bunch we were able to fully meet, which is really nice.
If I can ask a question about that, is it that people give to specific asks, or do you like people to give to the organization as a whole, and then you figure out how to fill in the asks, or how does that part work?
Either one works. So the latter would be kind of just general donations, and those we can use for our discretion. And then if they donate, for example, if they donate to a particular person, for example, for the person requesting a laptop, then we earmark it just for that, and we try not to use it for anything else. And yeah, that's how it works. But we will top up from the general funds if a particular ask has not been fully met yet. And this is a little bit out of date. So if you become a member, you'll have access to the sheet, the fully up to date things. So yeah, I mean that's all I kind of wanted to highlight from the website. But I recommend that people become members.
Rishi, how many volunteers would you say you have right now?
Sorry?
How many volunteers would you say you have right now?
We have somewhere between 300 and 350. And of those, probably about half are consistently active.
Also, one of the things that's really impressive about PMA, I remember when they started, maybe there were less than 50 people who were working as volunteers with the organization, and to have grown to almost 400 people is pretty, over the course of just 7-8 months, is really impressive.
I mean, it's because of institutional partnerships. If I might just say, like, it's because of institutional partnerships and the fact that they've helped us be able to show up for people and for the community that we've been able to have that success. Yeah, I mean, I just want to address a couple questions. In terms of donating, is the best way to give through the, in all honesty, by the way, we're not incorporated, although that might change soon because of necessities to avoid liability and culpability for lawsuits. That might change soon, but probably the best way would be directly, although either is fine. And then to become a member, you would just have to fill out the membership form that's on the website. That's all it would mean.
Thank you. Does anybody else have a question? Any questions?
I guess I have a question for whomever. Is just that, does Witherspoon have any? How should I put it? Is I understand what, as the Reverend Lucata was saying, what we do in terms of providing space. In terms of providing funds, do we have any regular contributions, or is it just something every now and then? I don't know if there are any regular links that we have in terms of our church giving as an organization.
I don't know if Pam, you want to speak to that first?
Well, as far as outreach, we have not. We've contributed to some of the collections in terms of buying items for the Every Other Sunday collection. We did that once, and the deacons have done it. And I believe the deacons may be considering a more formalized donation. So, yeah. Reverend, I don't know if you know about that.
I several months back, early on, maybe in May, we presented both PMA and Unidad Latina en Acción to the Deacon Board as organizations that we hope that they would support. And I know there has been some support. There has not been anything that's been regular or in terms of any kind of scheduled sort of flow. I think that's something that the deacons can talk about. I think it's something that deacons also have their own process in terms of what they have to follow. They have caps in terms of what they can give. They have sets of organizations that they're also giving to, and so and all of those are important. Some of them which reach out beyond and in some more specific ways, even than PMA actually does. And so I think what's important is for our church to have these conversations, for individuals to have these conversations. I don't really think it should be an either or. I mean, sometimes if you look on a list in PMA, and like you said, once you sign up and become a member, you start getting these alerts, notifications all the time. I mean, you can see if there's something very specific that you might want to contribute to, or you might be able to contribute to, because it's not always even just money. Sometimes
right.
it's
like
other things.
We had kids' bikes,
right? And
it was just a matter of arranging for the delivery, making sure that the bike was working and making, contact, as Rishi mentioned, the specific person who was looking for a girl's bike, and it didn't involve too many different people. It was just that, those specific needs, or there could be you could have a laptop that you don't use anymore, iPad, that's perfectly good, that doesn't even require money. There were wipes. I think I saw on Princeton Mutual Aid that someone had boxes of the Costco size baby wipes, and I knew that the Alpha and Omega moms needed those, so I just picked it up from the person donating from the Princeton Mutual Aid, and then delivered it to Alpha and Omega for those families. So it's truly something that works, and I see people offering all kinds of things that are perfectly good, perfectly new items, and they're looking to find a match. They're looking to find a match of someone who needs it. So it's something like, if you do join the list, you'll understand just how what's you need to get rid of, someone else really needs. So the more people that from Witherspoon that get involved, and maybe people can't do something in person, but they can deliver something from point A to B.
Yeah.
A package, a grocery bag, and maybe they don't have time to do the grocery shopping, but they can take 20 minutes to pick something up and deliver it.
Yeah.
That's something. Sometimes that's as simple as it is. Can someone pick up an envelope at 5 o'clock and deliver it?
Right. Yeah, I would just add two things. Also, I think Witherspoon members, if you identify people who are in need, like those seniors, if you know seniors within Princeton that are in need of food and other sorts of support, if you know people that have particular needs, to serve as referrals and referral sources, and refer people to PMA and refer people to Witherspoon and to the deacons also, because the thing about the deacons also is that the deacons' contributions, not only do they have a limit in terms of what they can give, but they can give to people who are outside of the membership of Witherspoon Street Presbyterian Church and outside of Princeton. So if you're wanting to get direct help and support to maybe families that are in your community, and you live in Lawrenceville, or you live in Ewing, or you live in Trenton, or you live in Plainsboro or West Windsor, or some of the other East Windsor, some of the other places where our members live, then the deacon board can actually provide resources to those families, whether they be members or not, in some of those communities. So see it as, and this is what I said before, like when we did the communion, the folks from PMA, which at that time was when they had less than 50 members, I think, helped us to cover a certain area, but it was others within the church that enabled us to reach out into some of the broader expanded geography that we needed to connect with.
Yeah, I think it's a perfect illustration of mutual aid. And I think, to echo what Pastor Lucata and Pam said, the deacons do have a cap on what contributions they can give we can give to individuals and organizations, but due to the COVID, we've actually voted to raise what those caps are. So I think that's good. And still, I think there's ways in which we can do a both and, as everyone has communicated. So, Rishi, I'm just really impressed by the work that you and PMA are doing. I think it's really incredible, and I know as a chemist, you're probably very busy in the lab. So kudos also for just being exemplifying what sort of a Matthew 25 is doing in a kind of even a secular way, right? So just want to say thank you.
If I could just say, just the last, as a parting word, thank you so much, Sean, for those words, and thank you in general to the Witherspoon Presbyterian Church. We're so blessed to be able to work, be community partners together. I hope we can continue to be, and I know that we will work to be strong friends and supporters of the Witherspoon Church, Witherspoon Presbyterian Church, for however long PMA exists. And by the way, like Pastor Lucata said, your network has access to needs. We have access to needs. If we can, kind of replicate that process of sharing our information and sharing our needs, then I don't see why we can't make Princeton a more collaborative and a much healthier community.
Thank you so much. Michelle, did you have anything else that you wanted to share or discuss?
I saw one more question in the chat, I think, from Tracy.
Yeah, I can address this. So the question is, does the organization reach out to other communities, for instance, like in Trenton and the surrounding areas? The answer is yes. Although we're very, very local, that's kind of our, we're local to Princeton, and the folks that live or work are associated with institutions in Princeton, but we have connections with other mutual aid organizations in the New Brunswick and Middlesex County areas. And we have connections. We have those connections in Trenton as well. Some immigrants' rights organizations and advocacy organizations, and we actually partnering with Witherspoon Church and Alpha Omega to help the unhoused person, as Pastor Lucado was mentioning before. We were able to use Pastor Juarez's connections in Trenton as a potential place for him to seek shelter and counseling. We didn't end up going in that direction, but we had those options open to us.
And we've also had instances where we actually had more donations of food than we could actually distribute on one Sunday morning. And so then in partnership with Alpha and Omega, we were able to transport that food to Trenton and to do another distribution in Trenton. So, but a part of the continuing work is to be building and developing these relationships. I think what's beautiful about Princeton Mutual Aid is in part because it is local. And people who are local in their local communities are taking care of one another. And so we should find people who are in Trenton and interested people in Lawrenceville and Ewing who want to do the same thing in Lawrenceville, in Ewing, in Trenton. And then we connect with them, because that's a part of what makes this, I think, powerful, is that these are literally your neighbors. And Unidad Latina always says it well. So that they say we're our own saviors. You know, solidarity, not charity, and that they're taking care of one another and taking care of themselves, which is a principle and a value which I think is important for mutual aid, and it has been a blessing. You all may remember I preached. You didn't know I was preaching about Harishi and Jorge Torres from Unidad Latina several months ago, but I talked about the story of Moses, and when Moses had the anointing put on him, and then he put it out on the 70 other elders, but then there were two others that were outside of the camp, Eldad and Medad, who were continuing to do great work but weren't inside of the camp. I was talking about Harishi and Jorge, and I went back and I told them, I said, I'm preaching about you all today, because it was right after we had done the food distribution. And you know, even though they are outside of our formal community, we are connected, and I know that an anointing is also on them as well. And so I'm just thankful for them.
Harishi, do you have time for one more question? I see Norbert had his hand raised.
No, I have time.
Yeah, I won't talk very long. I just wanted to say, and that is right after what you said, Reverend Lucata, there will be in Mercer County alone, 128 people will be released after November 4th as part of the prison release. And the entire release is in two sets, over 3,700, most likely. And as far as I got involved, I could not find out so far what the state is really doing to help these people the moment they step out of prison. And I'm not saying that PMA should do that now. But what I'm saying is there may be some also in Princeton, or will be released to Princeton. But certainly there will be many released to Trenton, and it is there are re-entry organizations and other organizations, but there is not yet a unity among all these organizations that would collaborate with each other. And I got only into this because of a personal history with one person who got released, where his physician said after the surgery, emergency surgery, you had exactly 1 month to live. If you wouldn't have had the surgery, you would have been dead in 1 month. And so it goes from medical issues, from legal issues, housing, a lot of family issues, PTSD, and so forth. And I have formed a small group, very small group, yet it probably will be a little bit bigger, of counselors with whom I will work do emergency counseling for people who come out of the prison. But there, you can all imagine what all the things are that they need, including professional help like attorneys and so forth. So I just want to say that, and we can talk about details at another time, but apparently it will happen. The governor signed the bills, and so far as I was told, November 4th will be the date when the release program begins.
Yeah, Norbert, you're describing the hard work that we have ahead of us. And there's a lot more that we could say about that. But my hope is that churches and other organizations will raise their hand and show up as real partners in that process. I mean, that's been a part of what's been discussed from the very beginning when we first started advocating for it, for these releases. And we need for churches like Witherspoon. And I'm so thankful for the work that so many people in Witherspoon have done and are doing. I hope that we can be a model and an example for what some other churches can do. There are certainly other churches that are also doing great things and are even doing more. But I would say by and large, most of our churches are not actively engaged. I mean, there's great work and we can all do parts. I mean, like Mount Pisgah AME is the host of the Free Store, which, operates on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday and does the distribution. And there are lines of people, they have a Spanish line and an English speaking line that go in and get supplies and food on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday and midday. The challenge is that many of the day laborers are at work during that time. So that's why you'll see a long line in front of Witherspoon Street Church at 8 o'clock in the morning, 64 people to get food on Sunday morning, because the Free Store is closed when they're available to come and to get food. So we all have different parts and the things that we can do. And for the returning citizens that are coming back to our communities, there is a lot of work. And sometimes it can be overwhelming, if churches could see it, and which is why I like the individual thing that PMA does in terms of showing what the asks are. Sometimes it's saying, what, how many is it, Norbert, that's coming to Mercer County?
118.
118.
Or 128, I'm not sure.
Yeah, so let's say if Witherspoon said, we got one, we'll take one. There are more than 128 churches in Mercer County. And put that together with synagogues and mosque and everything else. Clearly, if a church said, we'll take one person, then we could cover what it is that would need to be covered. But there are organizations that are fighting, trying to get state money, and for the reentry, and like they say, when the elephants fight, it's the grass that suffers. And so we have to really try to focus on taking care of the grassroots. And sometimes it's just not about doing everything, but doing one thing, doing something. And that's what I hope that we can think about what we might be able to do.
Right. And one part of it that you indicated a little bit also is to develop friendship with any one of these people, with any one of the returning citizens, to that they have one or two or three people who are just spending some time with them and connect with them, which is a whole other challenge that we are not so accustomed, but we all can do.
Yeah, I just want to give a shout out to the Outreach Committee and the Christian Education Committee, partnered with them in terms of the prison letter writing ministry, in terms of those who have started to develop those relationships and to connect with the women in the Edna Mahan Correctional Facility. But we know that there are oftentimes those people, when they are blessed, if they're able to return back home, sometimes they return and they don't have families and they don't have communities and they don't have friends anymore. And so all of these things are connected. What we're doing now with the prison letter writing ministry can serve as a foundation for not only the building of relationships, but to remove some of the stigma that we have about people who are returning citizens from prison, people who are poor, people who are undocumented, people who are in all different phases and walks of life. And some of this work helps us to see people's full humanity. And when Harishi talked about the emotional connections and the emotional relationships, that's really important, that we need to see that these are our neighbors, and we are helping each other mutually. They help us too. I mean, I could go and begin to describe all of the ways in which we have received help and received support from the very people that we think that we're providing charity to, and that's not what it is. When we're all doing good, we're all doing good, and that is something that is another value, I think, of Princeton Mutual Aid. So I thank Outreach and thank Christian Education for connecting with PMA and convening this. I'm thankful we've been getting a lot of good feedback from folks who were watching on Facebook Live, and also we posted it on YouTube. So, we from around the country, people who have given positive feedback. So thank you all for the great work that you all are doing in organizing this program in a time and a season such as this, when there's so much bad news, where we can get a little bit of good news.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody. Have a wonderful day, rest of the afternoon.
So before we go, I had a couple of things I want to say, Pam.
Sorry.
And make sure you pray at the end of that, Michelle.
Okay, well, thank you guys, first of all, for coming, all of you that came today, and thank you so much, Arisha. This was fantastic, and I love that statement, not charity, but solidarity, and that we're all in this together. And one of the things we're doing is we're studying Matthew, and the texts are so rich with that in our Bible study that we have on Saturdays. But I also want to remind people about our Bible studies on Wednesday from 12:30 to 1:30. And I know some of us work and it's hard to get on, but you can get on through Facebook and just sort of listen and text a little bit, which is what I've been trying to do. But Pastor Lucata is having some guest speakers come to these afternoon Bible studies, and they're fantastic. I think the one a couple of weeks ago were about Africans in the Bible. And this week you're having an interesting one. Could you tell us a little bit about that, Pastor Lucado?
Yes, I mean, we've been blessed. We had Reverend Joseph Scribner that talked about how we can visualize what happens in the Bible from the story of creation. He's out of Stillman College and is an Old Testament graduate of Princeton Seminary. We had Dr. Brian Rainey last week to talk about Hollywood in the Bible. And this week, 12:30, we'll be dealing with what the Bible really says about same-gender loving relationships and people, and what we really say about same-gender loving people and relationships. And so we're going to explore what the Bible says about the LGBTQ community and communities. And, you would think, as much as you hear talk about this within churches and church audiences, that there's a lot more. But we actually laid the foundation last week in looking at text. They were emailed out to all of our members on through the virtual fellowship, so you can catch up if you want to read up on some of the things. We want you to invite and encourage people who are part of the LGBTQ community and those who love them, those who have questions, those who have concerns. We're inviting everyone to be a part of the discussion. But we're going to look at the Bible, and we're going to look at what the Bible says and what it doesn't say. And then we're also going to look at ourselves and what we say and what we don't say. And so, again, it is midday, but this is one of the things. Like, this is great because some can only do Bible study at Saturday at 10 a.m. So I'm thankful that we have a Bible study for people who work during the week and can only do weekends. This is a midweek Bible study, which we surveyed people and asked, when would you like to have one organized? So you can join on YouTube, you can join on Facebook, and thank you, Michelle, for letting people know, and encourage people to come. We're going to put the information on Facebook, but if you want to be able to join the Zoom call, you'll need to request the link, because we're not going to just put the link out in public. We want to make sure we create a safe space for everyone to be able to have these discussions. Thanks.
Okay, so I know that we all want to get back to our Saturday afternoons. Thank you again. And also Matthew 25 and our mission on church vitality, eradicating racism, and eliminating poverty. We're going to be talking about that all year. So there's going to be more programs, so stay tuned. Our next one is going to be, we're going to be watching the movie Just Mercy and having a discussion about that. And Sean Maxim is going to lead that discussion. So that's going to be the first Saturday in November. So stay tuned, look in the bulletin, and we're going to have a lot of things coming. Matthew, I always like what Pastor Lucata says. If you're not doing this work, Matthew 25 work, then you're not really a church. You may be a club or a fraternity, a sorority, or something, but you're not a church. So anyway, I could go on and on. Artie's giving me that look like let's stop talking, Michelle. But anyway, have a great afternoon, and I think that's it. Pam, do you have anything?
I don't. Thank you.
Pam was going to pray.
I'm going to pray. Me?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this opportunity to come together as a community. We know that when we include you in our midst, powerful things happen. And we thank you for each and every one of us who contributes to the work that you've laid out for us to do as a Christian community, as a community of faith, and a community of believers. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you. See you tomorrow.
Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye.